What if the very hands meant to love and protect you were slowly taking your life? In a tragic tale of deceit and betrayal, a woman's mysterious illness would eventually uncover the chilling truth about her husband's deadly touch. It was an ordinary evening, one like any other in the life of Emily and James Parker, a couple who seemed to have it all: love, success, and a beautiful home. What began as small bouts of sickness soon spiraled into a medical mystery, leaving both doctors and Emily herself baffled. Little did anyone know the very person she trusted with her life would soon be the one responsible for ending it. Emily Parker was always the picture of health, vibrant, cheerful, and strong. She and James had been married for 6 years, and from the outside they seemed like the ideal couple. They spent weekends hosting dinners and traveling the world. But everything began to change one fateful evening while Emily was preparing dinner. As she stood at the stove stirring a pot of soup, she suddenly felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. Her vision blurred, her knees buckled, and within seconds Emily collapsed to the kitchen floor. It was as if her body had turned on her in an instant. At first she thought it was just stress from a long day, but over the next few days her symptoms worsened. She felt constantly weak, nauseous, and struggled to catch her breath. James, with a worried expression etched across his face, stayed by her side, never leaving, his concern seemingly genuine. He cradled her in his arms, dialing 911, but something in his eyes betrayed the loving tone of his words. After reviewing her symptoms, the doctors decided to test for toxins, as all signs indicated that large doses of some toxin were entering her body. The doctors ran several tests for common toxins like lead, mercury, and arsenic, etc., but the results came back clean. There was no apparent cause for her sudden illness. The doctors were puzzled. Emily's condition, however, continued to worsen. Her lungs began to fail, then her heart. Despite aggressive treatment, the doctors were puzzled. They were certain a toxin was at play, but no test could pinpoint what was causing her rapid decline. Weeks passed, and Emily's symptoms persisted, growing more severe. She was in and out of consciousness, her body slowly shutting down. Despite the best efforts of the medical team, her condition was not improving, and all the while, James stayed at her side, always appearing deeply concerned and attentive, never giving anyone reason to suspect him. What started as bouts of dizziness and fatigue turned into organ failure. Her lungs, her liver, everything began shutting down. Day after day, Emily lay in her hospital bed, her body growing weaker, her skin pale and ashen. Despite her declining health, James remained by her side, never leaving for long. He was the devoted husband, holding her hand, comforting her, whispering sweet words of reassurance. To everyone around them, James appeared heartbroken and helpless, but beneath the surface, there was something darker at play, something far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Emily's family was concerned, and rightfully so. The doctors couldn't figure out why she was getting worse. No toxin or virus could explain her symptoms. Yet no matter what treatments they tried, Emily's condition continued its downward spiral. It was as if her body was being attacked by an invisible force. No one knew the truth. Dr. Thompson, one of the senior physicians assigned to Emily's case, was relentless in his pursuit of answers. He'd seen many puzzling cases in his career, but this one gnawed at him. Something didn't add up. Why was she getting worse despite all treatments? And why did her symptoms resemble poisoning but with no toxin showing up in tests? After weeks of searching for answers, Dr. Thompson noticed something odd. James. It wasn't just the fact that James was always at the hospital, which seemed normal for a devoted husband. It was the way he interacted with Emily. He seemed overly concerned, yet oddly detached at times, as if playing a role. Dr. Thompson couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. So he decided to dig deeper into the case. He reviewed every test, every symptom, every interaction. Unable to ignore his instincts, Dr. Thompson reported his concerns to the police. The authorities began investigating discreetly, speaking with friends and family. Everyone spoke of how perfect Emily and James's marriage had been. They found nothing but stories of love and harmony. There had never been any signs of trouble. As the police investigation progressed, Emily's condition worsened. Her organs were failing rapidly, and despite every effort to save her, she slipped into a coma. It was clear that she wouldn't survive. After several weeks of puzzling over Emily's unrelenting symptoms, failing organs, unexplained lung issues, and no clear toxicology results, Dr. Thompson was confused in reviewing his rare cases. He recalled an obscure case he had studied about heavy metal poisoning, where gold, in certain rare forms, could be lethal when introduced into the body over time. Gold. It seemed so outlandish, so far-fetched, but it wasn't impossible. There was a substance, sodium orothiomalate, often used in treatments for arthritis. In small doses, it could help with inflammation, but in larger amounts, it was lethal. What if Emily was being poisoned with gold? The idea seemed absurd, yet everything about her symptoms aligned with it. Dr. Thompson, after suspecting gold poisoning in Emily's case, reached out to the police with his findings, explaining his theory in detail. He told them that while typical toxicology reports couldn't detect gold, there was a specific way to test for it. He suggested that they need to test James with the use of tin chloride, a compound that reacts with gold ions, reducing them to visible colored colloidal gold. They would test for gold toxins in Emily's system. To demonstrate his theory, Dr. Thompson devised a plan. He hypothesized that Emily's husband, James, was administering the gold through touch or food, possibly using sodium orothiomalate, a form of injectable gold commonly used in treatments for arthritis, but lethal in high doses. The doctor believed that by applying the gold indicator to his hands and then touching Emily's skin after she'd been in contact with James, he could detect the poison. Dr. Thompson coordinated with the police, asking them to monitor James when he is beside Emily. After touching Emily's skin in a controlled test, the indicator reacted, turning the spot into a telltale color, confirming Dr. Thompson's suspicion. This crucial evidence showed that Emily was indeed being poisoned with gold, leading the police to investigate James further and eventually uncover his plan to murder his wife for financial gain. The evidence against James became undeniable. He was arrested on suspicion of orchestrating Emily's slow and agonizing death. Meanwhile, Emily's condition continued to worsen despite the doctor's best efforts. Her organs, already ravaged by the gold poisoning, were failing one by one. After weeks of battling the mysterious illness, Emily's body gave in to the cruel toxin that had been silently destroying her from within. Tragically, she couldn't be saved. Her death was initially seen as a heartbreaking mystery, but as the truth surfaced, it was clear this was no accident. James, once seen as the loving, devoted husband, was now facing murder charges. His cold-blooded plan to poison Emily for financial gain had been exposed, and he was soon charged with her murder. His mask of affection finally shattered in the face of justice. When the police confronted James with the evidence, his mask of concern and devotion finally crumbled. As the police dug deeper into James's life, they made a disturbing discovery. James was drowning in debt and having an affair with a woman. His plan was chillingly clear. James had intended to make Emily's death look like a natural tragedy, cash in on her life insurance, and start a new life with his girlfriend. His weapon of choice was cunning. He poisoned her slowly, using his gold ring, touching her, and contaminating her food with tiny, undetectable amounts of gold dust. He played the role of the caring husband, all while orchestrating her demise. Emily's seemingly perfect life had been shattered by the one person she trusted most. The man who once vowed to love and protect her had turned her trust into a weapon. As James was led away in handcuffs, Emily's family stood in shock. The man they had trusted, the man who had held Emily's hand through every moment of her illness, was the one responsible for her death. The betrayal was more than they could bear. James was charged with murder, his cold and calculated plan exposed for all to see. What seemed like a story of love and devotion was, in fact, a tale of greed, betrayal, and murder. James had turned a symbol of love, a gold ring, into a weapon, slowly poisoning the woman he once vowed to cherish. But no matter how carefully he crafted his plan, the truth couldn't be hidden forever. In the end, justice was served, and the deadly touch of betrayal was brought to light. If you want to hear more gripping tales like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. If you'd like us to cover impactful crime stories that could shed light on important cases and help make a difference, please feel free to email us or leave a comment below. Like to support the channel further and help us create even more in-depth content? Consider donating through the link in the description.